Sir Richard Branson, welcome to On the Money.
It's great to be in Canada.
Tell me how, or more importantly, why you were drawn to an initiative like this one.
Well, I've been an entrepreneur for 50 years, and so spent a lot of my time trying to help young entrepreneurs get on their feet. When these two lovely ladies suggested that they would be willing to put their hands in their pockets and create an entrepreneurial program in Canada, I thought the least I could do is come out here and support it, because I thought it's a tremendous idea. We've been involved in Britain in something called Virgin Startup Loans, where we went to the government and said, you give lots of loans to people going to university and college, but you don't give loans to young people wanting to start businesses. And we will find mentors if the government put up money. And that's been a tremendous success. I mean, nearly 30,000 young people in Britain have benefited from that. We hope that we can persuade the Canadian government to do the same thing. But in the meantime, this is a great way of kickstarting it.
Well, and kickstarting it off, but having the data from Virgin Startup really does help sort of make the case here. If you could get the ear of the government, is it just a direct line between access to cash, mentorship, and success in entrepreneurship?
Yes, I mean, I think there are lots of people who have lots of great ideas that will make people's lives better, and that's basically what an entrepreneur is. But especially when you're just starting a new business, the very initial cash is very difficult to come by. For the government to do loans in that area makes sense, because the average person who starts a business will quite quickly maybe have 3 or 4 people working for them.
Right.
And some of those businesses will be the new Virgins or Apples of the future. So they're good investments for a country.
How much has the role or just being an entrepreneur, how much has that changed since you first started out and were that person looking for initial cash?
It's changed massively. I mean, when I started 50 years ago, there was myself in Britain, and there was a woman called Anita Roddick who had a company called Body Shop. And we were the only 2 entrepreneurs. And so anybody wanted to interview an entrepreneur, they would either have the man or the woman with Anita. And so we got more than our fair share of coverage, but we couldn't get loans. We had to self-fund everything by trying to sort of sell our products in advance, and we had to learn in the jungle. I mean, I left school at 15, and I just was thrown in the deep end and had to learn the art of survival. Nowadays, there are thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs, and our societies are that much the better for it. And every single year, somebody's coming up with new breakthrough ideas, which makes everybody's lives that much better. And I think entrepreneurs are what are creating the new jobs in Canada, in Britain, and are going to make everybody in this world's lives a lot better than they would have been otherwise.
Is the pool that they're diving into and becoming an entrepreneur, is it naturally more international now than it was when you started out?
Yes, I mean, I think it should have always been international. If you were really a real entrepreneur and you thought internationally, because the world is one place, and if you have an idea that's going to work in Canada, it should work in the rest of the world, and if it works in Britain, it should work in the rest of the world. So, so I was lucky. I mean, from a very young age, I started building Virgin France, right, Virgin Germany, and so on, and we became a global brand.
You were quoted recently as saying that Brexit shouldn't deter young startups and young entrepreneurs in Britain. How can it not deter? And how, as a young entrepreneur, do you try to navigate that uncertainty? And there's a lot of global uncertainty around it as well.
Look, it's one of the saddest things that's ever happened to Britain and to Europe. I want to weep, and I think almost every single other entrepreneur and business person in Britain wants to weep too. But we've just got to get on and deal with it. And entrepreneurs are used to having problems thrown at us, and we just have to overcome those problems. One way that I'm trying to overcome this particular problem is to try to persuade government that a hard Brexit would be absolutely and utterly mad for both Britain and for Europe, and trying to change their thinking and trying to get thousands and thousands of other entrepreneurs to put pressure on governments and knock some sense into their heads.
Meanwhile, in the United States, its own uncertainty around Trump. And, business leaders have taken different approaches in dealing with Trump. Elon Musk tried to reach out and become involved and then ended up needing to leave over the Paris Climate Accords. How do you navigate that? And especially as sort of in the position that you've been able to attain of having the ear of prime ministers and of presidents, how do you navigate a president like Trump?
I think it's more important that people don't try to sort of be sycophantic to Trump, that people speak the truth. I've told a story about the first time I met Trump, because I think it's important for people to know. And it was a lunch, and he'd just been bankrupt, and he spent the whole lunch talking about 5 people who he'd asked for help, who'd refused to help him, and how he was going to spend the rest of his life destroying those 5 people. The reason I tell the story is I just think it shows the vindictive nature of this man. He's a dangerous individual, and I think people should realize how dangerous he is. And I'm afraid that nothing about his presidency has let me change my views on him.
Have those rules changed? I mean, you had a great relationship with Obama. I'm assuming you're not going to go kite surfing with Trump, but have the rules changed around how you... Was it different dealing with somebody like Obama? At least you sort of knew where you stood?
I mean, look, Obama was completely straightforward, and if you had a project that was right for the country, he would, I'm sure, would have backed it. But with Trump, I'm sure that those people are sycophantic to him. Most likely will get on, better than those people who are not. But I think. I think that it is wrong to be sycophantic to Trump, because the way he speaks about people, the way he talks about minority groups, the way he deals with climate change and so on, they are palpably wrong, and therefore it would be morally wrong, I think, to try to kowtow to him.
So to finish then where we began on entrepreneurs and helping young people. Will it be those young entrepreneurs that fuel this economy, that push us through whatever the political uncertainty, whether it's Brexit or Trump or whatever it may be, that will push us through this time?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's the young entrepreneurs all over the world that are going to deliver on the development goals, for instance. They're going to be the people who are going to continue to get overcome poverty in this world, overcome famine. Improve on education and all the things that we need to see, but it's great, here in Canada. I've met ministers this morning to see they're extremely open, and they want to see more entrepreneurs in this country, and I think they appreciate that in the past Canada hasn't been, it's been dominated by big companies, that it'll benefit from a whole new revolution of young entrepreneurs.
Well, listen, we really appreciate you coming in. It's been great to meet you.
Nice to see you. Thank you very much.
Cheers.
Cheers.